started to do some work. And for me to be able to do this calculation, I needed a couple pieces of information. This included things like the historical mining rates on the Pi network, the date of all the times the mining rates have been reduced, and also the max number of users before the mining rates are reduced. This is all going to help me estimate the total number of Pi coins mined on the network. And it's actually a pretty simple calculation if you really think about it. And I don't really plan on doing anything fancy in this video. All I need to do is some simple multiplication and also division. And to give you guys an example, let's try to estimate the total number of Pi coins mined before the network hit 10,000 users. And all I need to do here is multiply 10,000 users by 3.1 Pi to figure out how much they're getting per hour, which turns out to be around 31,000 Pis, and then we multiply that by 24 to represent a day. From this, we can see that there's about 744,000 coins that are mined on the network every single day. And once we have that information, all we need to do next is multiply that number by the number of days before the network hit 10,000 users. And this turned out to be 69 days since the project started on March the 14th, 2019, and finally hit 10,000 users on May the 22nd. And the only thing we need to do now is multiply the number 69 by the number of Pis earned per day. And that's actually going to give us a total supply of 51,336,000 coins during this period. Now, if you've been following along with this video, I hope you realize the problem with this calculation. It pretty much assumes that 10,000 people were mining every single day from the start of this project until May the 22nd. Now, we know this is not true because the network didn't start with 10,000 people. Instead, it was a gradual growth over a long period of time. But for the purpose of this video, we're just going to assume that this is the case. One of the reasons we have to use this is we simply don't have the data. I don't have data on the total number of users every single day. And I also don't think this is a huge problem because it pretty much overestimates supply, meaning that this is pretty conservative, and we're also going to get a price that's much lower than reality. And if you guys remember anything from your accounting class, it's good to be conservative, since the price of a Pi coin might be much higher than what we will estimate in this video. So after finishing this, we basically have the total number of supplies for the first 69 days. And after this, we're pretty much going to repeat this process for every single day until December 31st, 2021. And I chose December 31st, 2021 as the last day that we can mine Pi. And this is because the developers estimate that mining for Pi will stop in Q4 of 2021. And this can mean either October, November, or December, and I simply chose the very last day just to be conservative again. And I'm simply going to share the number I got here because we don't have to run through the whole process again. One, because I feel like now you guys have a good idea of how I got this number, and two, because I know it's kind of boring, so you guys don't have to see it again. And the total mineable Pi here is about 117 billion Pis. Now, this number is pretty huge, but we don't actually get to see what the price is until we factor in demand as well, security circle, and also the base Pi 21. And this can mean either October, November, or December, and I simply chose the very last day just to be conservative again. And I'm simply going to share the number I got here because we don't have to run through the whole process again. One, because I feel like now you guys have a good idea of how I got this number, and two, because I know it's kind of boring, so you guys don't have to see it again. And the total mineable Pi here is about 117 billion Pis. Now, this number is pretty huge, but we don't actually get to see what the price is until we factor in demand as well. But before we move on to the demand part, we do have to adjust this number a little bit. And this is because most people don't actually earn the base mining rate. And we also have to factor in the bonus referrals as well. So right now, the project tells you that you earn 0.2 Pis every hour, but that number includes a full security circle and also the base pioneer rate. But we know that not everybody is going to have their security circle filled. And what I did here was assume that everybody on the network was going to refer one other person. And this is because everybody on the network had to be referred by another person. So it made sense to me that we should factor that into our calculation. And you can see in the example box right here that this basically gave us a mining rate of 0.21, or basically 105% of the original base mining rate. And what I did after was simply multiply 105% by our total mineable Pi of 117 billion. Now, I know this is not perfect, but I thought it would be good for a YouTube video, and also the fact that it's actually really simple to apply. The last thing we have to do here is guesstimate the inactivity on the network and also how much the developers are getting as well. So I noticed that about 33% of my network is inactive at a given time. And this is going to drop the total supply to about 82 billion coins. And after this, I'm going to assume that the developers here are going to receive 1% of that 82 billion. And finally, after all this talk and work, we have an estimated Pi supply of 83,521,000,000 coins. Now, I think this is the boring part of the video, and now we get to the fun stuff. Once we finish estimating the supply, we also had to get the demand. And I'm going to be honest here because getting the demand is not simple, and it's hard to find a number for that. And for the purpose of this video, I used a pretty simple method. I pretty much assume that demand is a ratio between price and supply of a cryptocurrency. And to show you guys what I mean, let's take a look at Stellar for a second. Stellar has a price price of 46 cents right now, and it also has a supply of 22.4 billion. And if you divide the two numbers, it'll give you this ratio right here. And what I'm doing here is pretty much assuming that the Pi coins will have the same ratio. And if we simply cross multiply, you can see that we would actually get a price for Pi of $1.70. Now, I do want to preface that this is by no means completely accurate. And if this was a real project that I had to do for work, I would never ever submit something like this. But I do want to say that I think this is pretty fun to take a look at. And for the purpose of this video, and pretty much for the fun of it, I also used the price to supply ratio for things like Bitcoin and also XRP. And this will give us a price of $1 and also $215 million. If you guys have a better way